nice crisp afternoon, and I'm going to do a vlog today of the strange places I've lived over the decades. So the timeline is, as a teenager, I left home when I was 15, and I lived for about 2 or 3 years in squats. Now, for anybody who's not sure what on earth a squat is, that was back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. That was kind of an acceptable way to find a bit of housing if you were a bit of a down and out, or if you were a bit alternative. Disused buildings. In my case, I went to university, or college rather, when I was a teenager, and a few people I knew lived in vans. They were doing environmental eco study courses, so they were staying in vans, stayed in caravans, tents, and squatted in buildings. We had a squat in Farnborough, which is south of London. For a while we had a squat, some land, which was had an old people's home that had long since been closed down. We all camped on there when we were students. We had a squat in Chichester for a while. I remember that one. And a big old people's home, the name escapes me for now, but that was pretty exciting as well. So I did that for about 3 years, 16 to 18 or 19, while I was at college. Then I moved to Cornwall when I was 19 for 1 year. It was a summer season with my mate, and we lived in a tent. Well, we both had tents, one tent each on a campsite. Now that's not unusual, people do that nowadays. So we did that, lived in a tent for a summer. That was quite fun. The part of Cornwall was the north coast because we were into surfing, so we ended up spending quite a lot of time there. So I did that for quite a while. Then I got myself some more permanent accommodation in Cornwall. So the more permanent accommodation was little touring caravans on a private campsite for workers, owned by one of the locals. We used to have fire pits, we used to have a drink after work, and it was pretty much all the locals and the workers. And that type of thing still goes on now, so that was pretty good, and lasted for sort of 8 or 9 months of the year in the summer. So living in caravans all through my early 20s. And in the winter I'd go away, as I've said before, to France or the States or Australia and places like that, and I'd live in all sorts of places then. Youth hostels, tents again. Didn't live in a vehicle when I was abroad, never lived in a vehicle overseas, but that was quite an adventure. So that's tents, that's caravans, that's squats. Then I bought a house, so I've owned a house since I was 30, so quite a long time. And I lived in a house for quite a while. But while I lived in the house, I had my first camper van, so I spent a lot of time living in there as well. So I lived in my camper van, which was one similar to what I've got now. I had that for many years, and used to travel a lot and stay in that in various places. That was good fun. Now with my new camper van, I'm able to live and work in that because it's really well kitted out. So I can travel wherever I want really. It's got all the, as I've explained before, it's all the facilities you might need. So it's pretty good. So I might live in that, say, 50% of the year now, because I'm away at racetracks and things like that. I do stay in it sometimes, just for the fun of it. When the weather's not too bad. If the weather's really bad, I go inside, because I've got a room which is mainly storage really. But I prefer to stay in the van. It's cosy, it's got everything I need. I've got my TV and I've got my heating and my electricity, so it's all good. So I don't mind staying on the side of the road in a camper van. Speaking of camper vans, there's one coming up here. This is a similar sort of van to what I've got, but this one's got a proper camper box on the back, and strangely enough a bloke in a bow tie sitting in the driver's seat. No idea why. Oh, what is it? They buy and sell gold. What a strange place to do it from. Yeah, so you can park up pretty much anywhere in your camper van. Stealth is a matter of opinion really. So my place of choice is a residential area south of London, where the neighbours know I'm there. They're quite cool with it, they don't mind. I tend to just keep myself to myself, and I use the facilities in the house because that's part of the deal. I can use the room if I want, but I choose to live in the camper van quite often. Lived in a car briefly. I lived in one of my tents on the cliff edge in North Cornwall by a really nice surf spot. That was really cool, but I got washed out of that by a early summer thunderstorm, and the water came cascading down and washed the tent away. So I ended up in a caravan. Yeah, so tents, squats, caravans, cars, youth hostels, owned a house and lived in a house, had my first camper van and lived in that quite often around the UK. And the new camper van, I've got rental accommodation and I stay in the new camper van. So it's pretty varied where I can stay, and the choice is entirely mine. I would like to buy a house, but you can't afford one nowadays. They're too expensive. But I'm happy with what I've got. A piece of land would be nice, but around here that isn't going to happen, so I have to start looking further afield, I think. When I'm not working, quite often I'll stay in the service stations. I've spoken about this before, but that's quite fun. You know, they've got all the facilities you need, and if I'm going anywhere and staying anywhere, I'd rather do that than rent an Airbnb or that kind of thing. Not many camper van dwellers in Farnham, unsurprisingly. Posh little Surrey town. It looks quite sleepy from this area, from this angle, but it's pretty hectic once you get into town. The idea of this little vlog is just to keep my content going on the YouTube site, and just explain some of the bizarre places I've lived. Some of the YouTubers I follow live in tents and vans and all sorts, so I'm not unusual. I'm not completely unusual, because there are people doing it. So I'm downtown, I'm just going to get some chips. That's my rationale behind doing this. Okay, we've arrived in Farnham town centre. There's the church in the background. I'm going to sign off from this really short vlog and get some chips and get home before it gets dark. So I'm now going to head home over the dual carriageway. I came over the bridge which I've done before. But this time I'm gonna brave the traffic. See how we go. Put the sunnies back on, I reckon. It's really bright when the sun is out, which isn't all the time. And although it's winter, it's still really bright, as you can see from my face probably. I did say I'd end my little vlog 20 minutes ago when I got my chips, when I was in the town centre, but yeah, I think I covered it all. It was only a quick explanation of where I lived. I like living in my van. You know, I could get, funnily enough actually, I've just got a message from the cricket guy saying that the team is having a drink in a pub near the Oval on Friday night in a couple of days' time. So I just asked him what time. It'd be nice to go up there. I've met most of them, but it'd be good to chat to him because he'll probably give me some regular work. So that could be my bread and butter work for 26. Cricket is almost always in the week as well as the weekend, but it's in the week, so I could get a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, Thursday. That'd be quite cool. And then I can still do the motor racing, because I don't want to bin that off really, because that's fun as well as regular work. So I would live in my van quite a lot if I did the cricket, not so much up in the Oval and Lords, but in the grounds that are a bit further afield. I could go over the night before, because you've got to be there for sort of 9 a.m, and if it's in Croydon or something like that, you're stuck in all the traffic. It's a nightmare. So being already on site in the morning would be really good. I don't think I'd stay overnight after I finished working, but to be there early would be a nice touch. So I'll see what he says on Friday. So that could be, I guess it starts in March or April, so that would be you know, a couple of days a week all the time throughout the whole summer. So that's like, that'll double my income. And because I don't want to buy a house, or I'm just reluctant to do it, I don't need to find $2 or $3 grand a month to run a house or a flat or something like that. I can keep renting the storage where I am with a room I can crash in if I really need to. The van, I can always find places to stay. So for instance, I could live on one of the campsites all during the summer for 6 or 8 months. Love it. That'd suit me down to the ground. Get my burner going, get my solar panels out, go off, do my cricket, come back the next day. That would work. And then go off for a couple of times a month for 2 or 3 days to do the motor racing, and that would work. And that would be a way to exist outside of the system, or certainly the housing system anyway. I would like a nice house, but if I'm away for 80% of the time, then what's the point in paying a couple of thousand to rent, or even more if you buy one? Bearing in mind at my age I have to get a relatively short mortgage. Can't get one of these 25-year ones. Anyway, this is the end of my blog now. There's my van. See you on the next one.